Everybody, welcome back with the Purplatypus is the name, and I have cleared Metaphor ReFantazio on Regicide difficulty. Just finished it about 10 minutes ago. So we're going to be talking about Regicide, the good, the bad. We'll be giving some final thoughts about the game. We're just going to talk about the game. Also, visually, just expect spoilers, though, if you're watching it and you haven't beaten the game. Because we're probably going to be loading a save where we're at the end game, and so you'll see some stuff. But let's talk about it. So I beat the game on hard in 86 hours and 22 minutes. And after you clear the game, you get to, and you start a new game. You have to, in order to do Regicide, you have to do New Game Plus, unless you have a mod or something. But in order for the game to allow you, you have to beat the game first. So I went in the New Game Plus. It does carry over your playtime. So it didn't take me 105 hours. It actually took me 19 hours to clear the game on Regicide after clearing the game on hard. Now, did it actually take me 19 hours to beat the game? The answer is no. It took me 19 hours of in-game time, but it was probably like 5 to 10 hours. It's hard for me to accurately do it, of just skipping days, going through. Like, you have to re-unlock all your followers, so I had to max out all the followers again, but I had all the royal virtues, so that was still pretty fast. But mostly it was just like trying to get through the game as fast as possible in like a speed run strat. And then I would say it took me about 4 hours it took me 3 to 5 hours at the end of the game to grind. So here's kind of an issue with the Regicide mode. It is the easiest difficulty in the game by probably a magnitude. It was very, very easy. Why? When you go into this mode, you keep all of your items. Now you could do it in honest, quote unquote honest, I guess. You could do a quote borderline fresh where you just didn't level up your archetypes and you go in with basic weapons. I think that would be pretty hard. The game's not designed for that, but because it's designed for New Game Plus. But when I went in, I had most of my archetypes maxed out because I was going for the achievements in this one, and it was like the end of my first playthrough. I like in RPGs at the end of my playthrough kind of maxing stuff out. And so when I went to the New Game Plus, it was, I mean, I destroyed the game. I destroyed it all the way through. I one-rounded almost every boss in the entire game, meaning they didn't even get a turn. On almost from the start of the game all the way to the end. The start of the game was the easiest because you were auto-attacking for like a couple thousand damage and they had a couple hundred HP, right? Because I had the 500 strength weapons and I had maxed out archetypes immediately. Every time they unlocked, it was already maxed out. So it was very, 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 very easy all the way up until the final dungeon. And so when I got to the final dungeon on my initial playthrough, I think I was level 74 or something like that. And then I leveled up to 84. So I gained about 10 levels there. When I got to the final dungeon on Regicide, I was level, where is it? I was about level 50. I was like level 52 or something like that when I got to the final dungeon. And the way this game works is, yeah, if you have 99 strength and you are level 50 going up against a level 70, you are going to do less damage than if you have 50 strength and you're going up and you're level 70 going up against a level 70, right? Your level is a huge indicator in the damage formula. I don't know what kind of modifier it is, but every level you gain, you're going to be doing more damage to enemies in general. So when enemies are a really high level above you, it really nerfs your damage. And you take a lot more. So my damage is like, basically when I got here and I was like level 50, I just had to grind up. I grinded up until I got to level 75, and then I think I gained 2 levels fighting bosses or whatever. And so I actually ended up being 7 levels lower, beating the game on the harder difficulty. So it was very easy all the way through. I actually think Regicide, and here's the thing, I'm gonna say it. This game for me is my game of the year. All right, right now it's my game of the year. It's beating out Yakuza Infinite Wealth. It's beating out Unicorn Overlord. It's beating out Sword of Convallaria, right? It's beating out Star Ocean Second Story R. I think that was this year. I don't really remember though, but it's beating out all the other games that I love right now. And Regicide to me was a big L. It was a loss. It was not fun the entire way through. It was too easy. I feel like it should have been unlocked initially as an initial difficulty and maybe slightly adjusted down a little bit. Because a fresh save would be pretty crazy because the Magala cost of unlocking archetypes is it's like triple. It's like double to triple what it normally costs. So if you need 30,000, you need like 72,000 to unlock one archetype. So it's like, it's ridiculous. But I mean, I just boss rushed the entire game until I got to the end, and then I was too low of a level and I had to grind a little bit. So even though it took me almost 20 hours, at least 5 hours of that was probably just grinding at the end game. At least, and probably 2 or 3 hours of that was going for the golden beetles, because I didn't do the golden beetles on the first time. And then most of it was skipping cutscenes, right? So it wasn't that much actual play time, is what I was gonna say. But the so all the main stuff was pretty easy. The optional boss could have been very hard. The optional, let's actually just load into the game so we're not looking at the screen anymore. Let's go into 104:43. I think this is right before I fought this boss. No, I already defeated the boss. Okay, so there's a boss in the Book of Apocalypse. It's like the ultimate Ender Dragon. It could be a tough fight. There's a mechanic that I didn't understand. Basically, when its turn comes up, it does 20,000 damage. It does 10,000 damage to everyone, and then it does another 10,000 damage to everyone. What is the gimmick? How do you get around that? I don't know. I didn't bother to figure it out because it's almighty damage, so I don't think you could resist it. It's called Ill Wind, and I just killed him in one round. I didn't even bother with the mechanics. I just killed him in one round with items. So, like, if you want to do a no item run, maybe that would make it harder. But like, I had this food that gave me 4 extra turn icons, right? And I had like 3 of them. So it's like, I used 2 of them. I had 2 of them, and I used both of them. So I just got 8 extra turn icons, and you could have done 12 extra turn icons in the first turn as well if you used the prince, but I didn't use the prince. And it was just, it was easy. Like, right, I just killed him in the first round. I used all my overpowered stuff that I had saved for the end of the game because this is a level 99 super boss that one-shots your party. So, but the game makes you very powerful where you don't really need to consider it. And with Louise, that fight was harder for me because I basically got off on the wrong foot in the first round, and so he got some turns. But I mean, I still, even when he got like 4 or 5 turns, it was not hard at all. Like, I absolutely destroyed it. Then it was the super version where you don't destroy any of the things, and I got the achievement, right? Acquire all achievements. So I did get that one. Destroy the wielder of true power. Very easy, honestly. But yeah, so I beat Regicide. It was, I think Regicide is specifically for people who want to get all the achievements. There is a few things I want to talk about for the achievements. So if you go for the beetles, and if you suspect you're not going to complete all the beetles on your first playthrough here, I don't give the guy your beetles. You could just hold on to your beetles, and the beetles that you don't spend carry over into your new game plus, because it's considered an item that is in your inventory. So if you have like, you need 36 beetles, I think it is, something like that, maybe 46. I don't remember the exact number, but if you have like 25 beetles and you're about to beat the game, you're like, I'm going to do a second playthrough. I don't really care about these turning in, going and grinding the rest of these beetles. Just hold on to them and they will all carry over. And then you'll only need to find like another 20 beetles, the same ones that you found, right, in the towns and stuff. So you will have a huge leg up if you keep all your beetles and don't move them over. For an achievement hunter, if you don't do it in your first playthrough, like I didn't, because I just didn't want to. I didn't realize it was an achievement. But yeah, overall, Regicide was not very fun. It was too easy for how powerful I was. The only part I was really looking forward to was getting my other characters like maxed out. And it's like, look at this. I have 300,000, but I mean, that's just because I defeated like a super boss. But like, look at This takes 48,000, 57,000. Let's take a look here. Who doesn't have their royal thing, right? 60,000, 33. I mean, you need like millions in order to max these out. So I could have done this in the initial playthrough, which I did for some of my characters, but I thought I didn't know the mag was going to go up. It just goes up so high, which is this is what's weird for me. If you max out all your stuff in your initial playthrough because you're having fun and you're just like grinding, then this whole mechanic of things costing more is going to be completely ignored. If you don't max out all your stuff, then it's so high, I feel like it's prohibitive to max out all your stuff. And it just like, I don't feel like the mag cost going up adds any difficulty. It just adds annoyance. I think it's a bad mechanic. And if it was a fresh save file where you didn't know anything going in, and the mag costs were just higher, it would add a lot of tactics. Because these are just, unless you're going to grind for 20 hours, a lot of these are too high. You're just going to like have to pick which ones you specifically want. You're not trying to just max them all out. You're going for very specific party builds. So it feels like a new game plus mechanic, but not a new game. It feels like a brand new game mechanic, not a new game plus mechanic where you can go in with everything already maxed out, you know? And most of it is like the game just obviously like it just me. This was me for like 10 hours, right? It was like A start, A start, A start, A start, A start, just skip everything. Which is like fine, but it just, I feel like they could have put the super boss, unlocked Regicide in the beginning, made a little bit of adjustments to it, kept the super. I know Atlas always does New Game Plus for their super bosses, but I think it's probably the worst aspect of their games. Their new game, this New Game Plus was not a very good New Game Plus, I'll be honest. New Game Pluses in RPGs are usually bad, but I thought this one was also just like not very well done myself. But as far as getting all the achievements, it was useful. I wish I could have started, like, if you beat the game, you could start from like start at the end game, just like where shit gets interesting, because a lot of the early game was me one-shotting things and speed running as much as I could. Right, all my virtues were maxed out already at the start. But yeah, I mean, I beat it. I got 100% of achievements. Overall, let's give some final thoughts on the game. Is there anything else I want to say about Regicide itself? No, I mean, honestly, advice for Regicide, if you're going to go into it, max out all the archetypes you want to ahead of time, because it's prohibitively expensive after the fact. Food is insanely overpowered. If you cook all the food, you literally can, nothing in this game will give you a remotely hard time if you can cook the most powerful food. So if you're having trouble on the dragon, just go, like, it's too late at this point, but if you're going to, like, if you still have time, just go and really focus on getting all the food. Get your superfood. There's one that adds 4 turn icons for the cost of 1 turn icon. Cook that as many times as you can. Just go grind, camp, go fish every day and get that shit, because you can, every time you get one of those food, like, you only need 3 of them to beat. 2 of them will beat the final boss easily. 3 of them will decimate everything in the entire game. And then other than that, it just it wasn't very fun, if I'm being honest. I did it for the achievements. It doesn't take away from the base game. I'm not like, oh man, this experience was bad, it ruined. It's not like the last season of Game of Thrones where like it negatively affected the rest of my view on the game. It was just like, oh, this was the greatest game of the year, of maybe many years, and the New Game Plus was just like, not very fun. But again, I don't typically like New Game Plus in general, so maybe it's just not my thing. Maybe it's a victory lap for people that want to overpower the entire game, and it feels cool because you're on the hardest difficulty, but it's actually an easier difficulty, but you get to trick yourself into thinking it's a harder difficulty. But final thoughts on the game. Game of the year. This is, I'm finished now, so I don't plan on playing the game anymore after this. Unless like there's a big, like, Plat, please play more. But it was a fucking incredible game. The story segments, I heard some people complaining about the island segment. There might be spoilers here. Just giving you a heads up, story spoilers. I don't know, but I'm just gonna kind of ramble a little bit. But a lot of people, not a lot, but I heard people complain about the island segment of the game. And I will say that is the slowest part of the game for sure. probably a low light of the game, mostly because you go from a really high point to then after that going to another really, really high point. Like if you look at the game, it's like in Brylehaven, you know, a lot of crazy shit happens there. Okay, spoilers, I guess, if you're still early in the game. And in fact, consider this spoilers for the next 5 minutes. All right, 3, 2, 1, boom. Spoilers. In Brylehaven, right, you get to kill Gladell, which was shocking to me because I thought he was going to be a party member for sure, because how much he hates, he loves Louise, but he hates Louise because he wants to be king. But I just didn't expect him to die. Even he was either going to be a bigger deal or he was going to be a party member, but he just fucking dies there. You break into Louise's ship, right? You get the magic formula, and it's like you're undercover for Louise. It's just a very cool section of the game. And then on the other side, that's the highlight of the entire game for me. And Ultraberry, you fucking throw the spear through Louise's fucking chest, and the coolest fucking cutscene. And then he's down, and then he survives though, but he's still bleeding, and he's at like half life. And then you fight him on the roof, and you kick his ass, and he falls through the ceiling, and then fucking Zorba hidden comes and saves him, and then you're like, oh my god, he's dead. I was like, he's probably not really dead, but I believe this game because like it killed Gladell and stuff. I would believe that he did actually die. And then he comes back the next day. Louise is alive. He fucking kills Forden, and like he just the game. It's like he literally blasts a hole through his fucking body. Then he fucking blasts a hole through Dell. Then it's like he's like, you're all a bunch of fucking wusses. Come fight me, bro. Then he runs away on his spaceship. Fucking crazy. It was so good. And so but in between that, you do have this very comparatively boring section. It was fine and it was like reasonable, but it's definitely the worst part of the game pacing wise, in my opinion, as well. I don't think it was bad. I had fun doing it, but that dungeon is fucking massive. It is so big compared to everything else in the game. And I think that's because it's like a big reveal that this is actually not a normal dungeon. This is taking place in the world of a different game. And so this is like actually a map that wasn't designed necessarily for this game. It was like lifted from a different game, like their old franchise, I don't remember the name of it, and then put into this game. So you're like, oh my god, I'm in the world of this Game Boy Advance or this Nintendo DS game where you're dungeon exploring. So it was like it kind of felt weird, but it was like a callback to an older IP, or the same IP, I guess. So that part was a little bit dull, I'll admit, but it was still fun enough. The island overall was the low point, but then after the island, it ramps up. Before the island, it's so good. After the island, it's really good. The island itself is a little bit weak. But still, again, game of the year. The story was phenomenal. The music is phenomenal. No one should shit on the music. Just because it's a little more in the background and it's like setting a mood and an emotion and stuff, and it's not like in your face with loud lyrics. Like, I think that it's a fucking stellar soundtrack. The progression systems are a lot of fun. The archetypes are a lot of fun. The Tycoon is overpowered. I think they could have done a little bit more with magic in the game. Magic falls off really hard once you get to the end game, especially because early on, it's kind of like a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. In the whole game, you're being pushed as the protagonist into magic a little bit, because the Seeker is good at magic, right? The Seeker, even though it's like, oh, good at everything, he gets a slash attack and a magic attack and a healing attack. At the Magic Seeker, one called the Magic Seeker, and the Soul Hacker have lots of magical attacks, more so than anything else. Even the extreme magic attack that ignores weaknesses or resistances, right? But then the Prince comes along, and the Prince is like full on physical. The Prince has like one magic attack, and it's bad. And so it's kind of like you're pushing your protagonist into the, I guess it's fine because your protagonist has one magic build and one physical build in the end game, but the Prince is so much stronger than the Soul Hacker that it kind of felt like in my first playthrough, I was like, fuck, man, now all these stats in magic do jack shit. So I basically just moved over the magic onto the Prince and didn't use any of the Prince's skills besides the Soul Cry to give yourself 4 turn icons. But there was some issues. I wish they would have given, like, I feel like there should have been more top end choices for powerful stuff. Because right now, the dealing triple damage with crits and tripling the strength of your ability that always crits is just overpowered compared to everything else. Like, other characters are hitting for 2,000, I'm hitting for 36,000, 18,000, you know, it's like, it's crazy. And the prince also has, if you can actually crit with the prince, it is also insanely powerful, probably more powerful. But yeah, I would have liked a little more top end extreme or severe damage types of magic that also could ignore resistances and had, like, I don't know, some cool more interest. I think there could have been a little bit more interesting things. I feel like they kept most of the interesting things the synthesis, which is fine, but I want to be able to kind of combine some of these skills. But yeah, overall, fucking loved this game. Had a really, really, really good time. Beat the game on Regicide. Felt like a chore a little bit, I'll be honest, but it was still, honestly, as a victory lap, I enjoyed it. Just going through the world again and seeing everything was really easy this time as opposed to really hard. And I just dominated everything and I could do whatever I want whenever I wanted. It was fun, but it was a little bit of a chore at the same time. But guys, I think with that, we might do a couple more videos now that I've beaten the game and I have over 100 hours in it. But as far as playing the game, I think I'm mostly, I think this is going to be the bow on it. So also look how good that reflection is, actually. We don't have a face down there, but I think that makes sense. It's actually a good ass reflection. It adds, I didn't even notice that, shadow and reflection. All right, guys, thank you very much. Purplatypus is Purplatypus. I will see you on the flip-flops. Bye!
Platypus on the rise, watch the views go.